Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of my live tea tasting. I've got an exciting blend for you guys tonight, so let's get started. Tonight's blend, I'm doing a black tea that I haven't really covered a whole lot in the past, but I found some very interesting facts about it, so I'm going to talk to you today about Kenyan Orthodox tea from Elmwood Inns, not Inwood Elms. Elmwood Inn Fine Teas. Now this is a very special blend because it's not, hey Snail, welcome. It's not what you would expect from an origin of tea. So Kenya is actually the third largest exporter of tea in the world. So it's just under China and then India and then Kenya. Now, most people think it's going to be within the top five. You have China, India, Japan, Taiwan, and what was the last one? I'm forgetting one. Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, where they have Ceylon. So that's the top five best known tea countries, but it's a fun fact that the third largest exporter of tea in the world is Kenya. And they sell their tea, they tend to sell it as undercut price-wise. So you get a good bargain, and they make some really great tea. So tonight, we're going to talk about what makes a tea orthodox. So I'm going to go ahead and, first of all, I'm going to show you what it looks like as is. Let me see. This is going to be really, really difficult because, let me see. All right. I can't even pull this up on my, thanks for all the love. So you'll see here, the tea is so fine, it's so small, it's cut so small that you can't even hold it in your fingers. It's not powder per se, but it is finely cut. And it is, what makes it orthodox is the fact that everything in the process is done without machinery. So it's all hand plucked. And it's fired. I mean, like the processing portion of it does incorporate some machine, but like as far as being cut and being plucked, everything is done by hand. So as you saw, it is a black tea, and it's very, very fine. Okay, so here I found a longer leaf. I don't know how well this is going to come out. But you see it is kind of twisted. It is needle shaped, highly oxidized, and it's been rolled. Not rolled. It's been twisted rather than balled. So that's what it looks like in its dry form. Now let's pull out some of the steeped leaves. And you'll notice a big difference in the size. All of a sudden, the leaves expand to about 2 to 3 times their original size. Now, this is just about the same kind of sampling. I just grabbed a fingerful of the dry I showed you, and I showed you the wet, about the same size as a fingerful. Now, you see this one a whole lot better because the leaves have been, they've been steeped, they opened up, and you have much bigger chunks. It's a lot easier to find stuff that you can see. There we go. Now, it's all done in the traditional way, so this is essentially just a black tea, but the terroir of Kenya is very hot, very dry, so you're looking at the kind of tea that they usually make in India called the Camellia sinensis assamica, which is a stronger, smaller leaf in general that can handle harsh weather a lot better than the Camellia sinensis, which is an open leaf and it's easier to it's easier adapted to better weather. So that being said, we're going to take a look at the liqueur of the blend. Now you can see it's really pretty dark. There's a lot of cherry red undertones in this, and you can barely see my fingers through it. It's a really dark, robust aroma, and it's got like a really strong, it generally has a very strong taste to it, which I'll talk about it in just a moment. Sorry, I'm making sure that I'm not missing any messages. So you can see it's a very dark, very strong looking tea. And the aroma, ooh, it's super dark, super smoky. I'm loving this already. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take my first sip. Ooh, yes. That's the kind of taste that I look for in a black tea. Very, very bold, not very astringent. There's no strong astringency in this, at least not for my palate. Some people have a more sensitive palate to astringency. This is just right. It's nice and smoky. There's kind of a little notes of apricot. Oh, that's something stuck in my teeth, bothering me a little bit. But it's a nice, robust, kind of smoky, kind of has like a little notes of rock fruit in it, like a peach or an apple, that kind of thing. And it smells so fresh. Like it's just extremely complicated. Because there's like little notes of fruit in there, and there's some nut on the taste. Hey Zam, welcome. And there's just the right amount of mouthfeel to this. Like, it's not totally watery. It doesn't just drain through. There's a little bit of a thickness to it. And it coats the tongue really well. It just kind of sits there. And the flavor tends to, it's a really long burning flavor. Like, I'm still tasting my first sip. And, you know, as you talk, if a tea is a short burn, the more you talk, the more you release, the more air goes through, and the faster the taste fades away. This one, it just kind of sits there, and it's like really nice and mellow, but the flavor itself is bold, and it makes its presence known. Ooh. It's fogging up my glasses too. I steeped this at 212 degrees for 5 minutes, and it's absolutely perfect. Like, you're not going to it didn't oversteep, so this is a strong leaf in general. Oh, that is so nice. I love the fact that it's not just a black tea flavor, you know, and it's just that one note that just sits there. This is a full-bodied flavor that's got so many minor complexities to it. Because you've got the taste of the black tea, the Camellia sinensis Assamica, which, I mean, for people who drink it often, if you drink it from Assam specifically, they're known for that really strong earthiness, that bold flavor. This one has that, but the lighter tones in it are just absolutely wonderful. Because I'm not just getting earthiness. I'm not just getting the black tea flavor. I'm getting a good amount of like the fruit that I was talking about, and the nut, a little bit of like plum, and like there's so many complexities, and I like to sit here and try to find them all. But this is the kind of blend that most people would actually love to add a little cream, a little sugar, a little milk, something to lighten it up. But me, I would actually prefer it this way. Yeah, it's still still fogging up my glasses. It's really self-drinking at this point. There's such a nice flavor, and it's kind of mellow for a black tea. Not as far as like the strength of it, but I'm talking about like the lack of astringency. It's really smooth going down. And I love how it just sits on my tongue and rolls around as I speak. Sorry, I'm kind of lost in the flavor because there's so much going there. What's the difference between this and an Assam tea? Actually, there's not much of a difference. The only difference is terroir. The location from where it was cultivated. Assam is known for its Orthodox blends as well. What's the difference? Just the continent, really. Africa has just different nutrients in the soil, but there's not really much of a difference in climate. There's not much of a difference in how high it's grown. That's why Kenya can. What about the difference in CTC? CTC is just CTC. It's just cut, tear, curl. And that's just about what you're getting here. Generally, the only difference in the CTC is that in Assam, it's bald a little bit, and this one's just cut. This is basically just, because you're not going to get, I wish I could do a side-by-side, but it's not going to be very easy to see over the cameras. Like, you'd have to be here in person to see the difference between this and the Assam. But Assam tends to be just curled and balled up, but it still releases that same bold flavor. There's really not much of a difference between the two. And that's why Kenya has been able to compete in the world market so well, because their product is very similar to the stuff that people enjoy about tea, And I feel so. It's kind of like comparing oranges and oranges. You're not going to see much of a difference between the Assam. It's even the same plant. It's still Camellia sinensis assamica. So it's all about the terroir. It's all about the nutrients in the soil, the slight differences that they have in the weather patterns. But because it's so similar, you're not going to get a night and day option. You'll actually find more differences between an Assam and a Darjeeling, because Darjeeling is a completely different plant. They have, I take it back. It's not the completely different plant. It's the Camellia sinensis, which is more open and it accommodates to different weather better. Mm. I love the way that the sensation. Would you be able to tell the difference between a Kenyan tea and an Assam in a blind tasting? Probably not. And that would be very difficult to do even. Okay, so because both plants are the same and both climates are very similar, you can't even do the same between two Assam teas from different farms. You know, you're not going to find it's just a different quality of a product. You know, if you were to take two Assam farms literally 10 miles from each other, and you can get totally different results. All you'll know is that you're drinking a black tea. But even still, in some places, you're going to get a really dark Darjeeling, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and an Assam because of the way that it's produced. So, you know, it's really difficult to compare apples to apples in this case. I would probably be able to tell the difference between like an Assam and say a Russian black tea, because I mean it's very similar, but the way that it's produced in Russia tends to be stronger than they do in Assam. And I think I've actually done a Russian black tea before on here. If I look back in my archives, I'll probably find it. But yeah, like I used to love, because I had one, and I haven't had it in a really long time. It was like Russian Caravan, I believe, or something like that. And like it was a very, very bold flavor. But again, like you have different terroir and different methods of production, so it's very difficult to really get a handle of which one is which. But that, you know, it makes for a good discussion. And I love how, as it cools, I'm getting little notes of cocoa in this now. It's kind of like a dark chocolate. That's really going well. And there's like this kind of smoothness to it as it cools down. It's really doing a number on my palate. I'm going to do the Thomas taste now. I'm going to do the Thomas taste and see if I can find anything that's just interesting in here, because this is a very complex blend. And I'm smelling a lot of nut right now. It's like nut and honey. And I'm still getting like the rock fruit in it too. Oh man, that is so good. Okay, time for the Thomas taste. Let's go. That's interesting. There's a bit of like wood, like damp wood, as I held it in my mouth and I was like breathing out. It had like a little bit of a woody taste to it, among everything else that I had mentioned before. You know, all of the earthiness, the rock fruit, the nut, everything was there. But as I was breathing out, there were little notes of wood as well. I'm finding this tea pretty fascinating. Hey Ma, welcome. I'm finding this tea very fascinating because like the more I sit and the more I think about it, the more I discover. And like for a Kenyan tea, when you think about a Kenyan tea, I mean, not too many people know much about Kenyan teas, but I think that's kind of the point. You go out there, you experiment, and you find something that you enjoy. And then you find out it's Kenyan and not from like one of the big countries. Like they've really made a mark on the market, on the world market altogether. And this is super smooth. It's nice and relaxing. I'm really enjoying this. I'm gonna turn up the light a little bit because I got shadow on the on my what is this, the other stream, not Facebook, the Twitch, yeah, brain farted for a second there. But yeah, so questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, now's the time. And I hope you guys give me some good things to think about, because this is a complex tea and I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to answer Teresa's question as I always do. What would I pair this with? So given that it's got like a nice bold flavor, but it's also got little notes of fruit, I would probably pair it with something of another bold flavor. Let's say like maybe a pork chop. What about the grade? Well, funny you should mention that. It's ungraded. So there's nothing I can say about that. Like it's literally just. I mean, when you think about a grade of a tea, it's how does it compare to teas from other regions? See, now that's a better question. I mean, you're always gonna find good teas and bad teas from all over the world, and there is no universal grading system to grade quality, because the taste is subjective. Some people may love this, some people may hate it. Some people may not have an opinion either way. For my palate, this is an excellent black tea because it's low to no astringency, and like drinking it a little bit at a time, it's got that full flavor, a nice body behind it. There's a slight thickness, but not one that's overpowering. It's got a good mouthfeel to it. That's not grainy. Sometimes you get like a nice grainy, what's the word? Like a coating over your tongue, and that sometimes can bother people. This doesn't have that. This one has it coats the tongue more like silk than sandpaper. Let's just put it that way. And the more I drink it, and like the cooler it gets, I'm getting more of the fruit. I'm getting more fruity notes of apple and plum kind of a thing. And now there's a slight astringency to it. As it cools down, it's starting to get astringent. So I would recommend, if you don't like astringency, some people love astringency, some people like that bitterness. I would suggest drinking it quickly while it's still hot, because if this follows the pattern of other black teas that I've had, it can get really astringent really quickly. So I would recommend drinking this pretty quick. Right now, the astringency is hitting me kind of like in the roof of my mouth and like on the back end. Like the front is just fine. But it still tastes nice and robust. There's very little else that is able to like interfere with the flavor. But it's starting to turn a little astringent, which, I mean, a little astringency is fine to me. Just as long as it doesn't turn out all bitter and soapy, then forget about it. Which does happen mostly to green teas. So, bottoms up. Okay, community announcements. As you can see, new merch. I'm testing this out. And this will be available. I believe it's already available on the catalog. Actually, it's nice and comfortable and airy. You can probably see right through it. No, it's not showing. When I was looking at it through the window before, I could see all through it. So this is a nice, airy light, perfect for summer weather, and it feels good. It feels comfortable. So I feel better about putting my name to it. And also, this is embroidered, so it's not one of those, you iron it on and keep it, and you like wash it a couple times and it falls off. No, this is embroidery, so it looks nice. I love how the thread really pops, especially in the green. Awesome. So if you're interested, contact me. I'll get you. I'll see what I can get you. Yeah. As far as other announcements, I don't have anything else. I'm looking to do another tea tasting next month, or actually no, later this month. I'd like to do at least one a month for summer and fall. So we'll take pictures, we'll share our experiences, and hopefully we'll be able to do something virtual in the near future, because I want to get more people back into the swing of things. It's been a long time since I've had a tea party. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, now is the time. Ooh, there's like notes of honey in there, in that scent. I'm getting honey and fruit now, really strong. And that's another thing I love about tea, that the complexities change as the temperature changes and the time passes. I would really recommend this tea, and I'll post the link just in case you want to try some of it for yourself. But I really recommend this. And then when I'm off camera, I'll probably put a little cream and sugar in it, just because I want to see how that tastes. On occasion, I spoil myself a little bit, but this would be the perfect kind of blend to put cream and sugar in, because it's so bold and so robust. So if you're that kind of person, I definitely recommend it. Right now, ooh, it's hitting me right there. It's just like kind of resting. And there's a slight astringency now that moved to the front of my mouth. Not the tip of my tongue, but just behind it. Like if my tongue was to come out just behind the tip. Okay, anyway. So I think I'm going to call it a night now. Thanks so much for joining me. This has been an extremely wonderful experience, and I highly recommend, if you like black teas, I highly recommend this blend, because it's definitely the kind that will wake you up in the morning. And it'll just it gives you a nice kick in the pants. It's giving me a nice kick in the pants right now. So anyway, have a good night and a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.